have you by any chance heard about? I don't imagine you would, but there's been some things happening in Montreal culturally.
Oh yeah.
Yes, someone has arisen that's being called Monsieur Niedzapul,
Mm-hmm.
and that is your French for Mr. Pothole.
Yeah.
A pothole vigilante has taken it upon himself to do what needs doing out in these.
If that's the case, I would expect you to see some heavy-set Italian or Russian guys back out in the streets re-destroying his potholes.
So I'm looking out for Tony Soprano to see what he's up to, because
that's their job, man.
Yeah.
That's their contracts.
I strongly believe that a couple of fucking Jersey Sopranos are going to be rolling up, but right now, what he's doing wisely is making himself highly publicized, and there's a very clear well, there's cameras on me, so whatever's going on here is going to be documented. But basically, my understanding is what happened is like this dude,
that only goes so far.
It does. But what basically the dude drove over a pothole and like destroyed the bottom of his car because it was one of those insane like super deep ones that like
that actually scrapes the undercarriage.
Like fuck your suspension, the car itself is just busted and your tires are shot. And a couple other people in the area were like, "Yep, that one's a bad one." And he went, "Fuck this! I'm a construction worker. I know how to solve this." And rolled up with his friend and then just put the shit in and heated it and fixed it, right? And then a couple other people in the neighborhood were like, "Yo, I got one right in front of my house. Can you come take care of it?" And he's like, "Yeah, fuck it, sure." And he's just started rolling up and doing it to a couple other places. And this has led to a very interesting dialogue, because people here we've just been dealing with it. It's a insane pothole nightmare, the roads out here. And there's a punchline that is when you enter the city, as you drive by the Welcome to Montreal sign, you literally hear it and feel it on the road as it switches over from smooth roads to bzzzt, right?
I remember when we drove, Paige just from the States, right? And she came to the Canada, and she was like, didn't mention anything about the roads, right? Then she went back home and drove around and was like, "Oh man, the roads in the States are so fucking bad." But then she came back to Montreal and she's like, not very good here either. But then we drove the Trans-Canada all the way west, and like 80% of that trip across like the longest unbroken highway in the country,
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Wow, these roads are so nice."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's insane. It's just and the dumb part too is like after years of all of this, like there's been I want to say like there's been reporting on the corruption and all that stuff we talk about all the time. There's stuff that has come out where it's like New York also has a comparable amount of mafia-esque bullshit in its construction as well, as you would imagine. But
you would imagine.
But it seems like their financial incentives have been placed in such a way where it's more lucrative for them to do the job to fix it than it is to keep the problem going. So there is a corruption problem fucking everywhere in a lot of places, but the way the financial structure is set up here is that it's the most that they get paid is by keeping the problem going.
You know what you are describing?
Mm-hmm.
You are describing yet another cultural difference between Quebec and the rest of Canada, and of course, Quebec and the US in this case. You are talking about, deep down, the Catholic versus the Protestant work ethic going back to fucking Martin Luther about doing good work. It's its own reward because it'll help you get into heaven versus told
shit.
my priest my fucking bullshit. I'm good to go. I could die tomorrow. Why would I bust my ass?
Oh, you say we're going back to indulgences on this one? We're going back to the
not
the original
post indulgence.
No, the original. Well, when Martin Luther was
talking about Protestant German serfdom ideology.
Yeah, when he was like, "Yo, why can't I read this fucking book? What does it say? Yo, fuck you. I want to know what's going on in here." And also, why are you paying for sins? And also, a million other problems with what was wrong with the Catholic Church. And they're like, how about we fucking kill you?
Now somebody in the chat says, but Italians are Catholic. And it's like, of course they are. But Catholic Italians in the United States are still within a WASP infrastructure.
So you believe, okay, so because of the work ethic, the way to emphasize corruption here is to do nothing. Whereas
to do nothing. Just give me the money and I won't do it.
Right. Whereas elsewhere,
and in fact, I will stop other people from doing it.
Mm-hmm. And whereas elsewhere, we're going to do some shady deals, but there's going to be work involved in those shady deals.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I threatened the guy and I beat this guy up to get the contract, but then we're going to do the contract.
Right. Right. I mean, to be fair, if we're representing Sopranos properly, there's a lot of no-show jobs, there's a lot of sit around and do nothing jobs that are a part of that, right? They're literally called no-show jobs. But for whatever the case is, I just remember when I remember a Uber driver kind of telling me about what it was like in New York and how they had like bounties on potholes being fixed quickly. And how the contractors that would go in and do it would make a lot more for doing it within 45 minutes.
Well, it's easier to keep if the corruption isn't like so endemic that it's every single person in the entire organization's all in on it. It's easier to keep the grift running if the fucking job gets done.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You would
like,
hope.
Hey, what?
But
giving the contract to these guys because they do it.
But evidently, here you can also keep the grift going by not doing the job. So we are also in an anomaly.
What are you gonna do? Give it to these other guys who also won't do the job.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is all sidebar, but this then turned into a thing where after walking around fixing it, it led to a big discussion because people were going, yo, this dude just doing it and getting it done, and we appreciate the fact that
takes so long.
Right, exactly, right. And then
we all know.
And so then this escalates, and then some folks are going, well, the problem is he's using a thing to replace it that's not going to survive the winter. It's a temporary fix, and it's not the real like solid fix. So actually, that's not great. And if you're going to do it, he's not doing it properly. He's doing it for attention, etc. Some people also did some stuff where they're like, yeah, this guy, he also like had a previous like influencing background or account or something was about it was like there's a promotional aspect to whatever's going on there. And when a GoFundMe was set up where people were like, okay, keep it going because you're actually solving the problem versus not, there's a whole debate about whether the vigilante road is one that the city should be taking for solving its problems. And ultimately,
I don't think that's vigilantism.
Well,
that's not outside the bounds of the law.
Well, I think ultimately the consensus I saw most people coming to was one where they're like, okay, so there's this influencer background or whatever. Yeah, whatever the attention version of this is, and he's setting up and filming it and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, but the hole being filled means your car's not getting fucked. Means
he's providing free materials and free labor for the civic society for no direct payment. How is there any downside to this at all for the citizen?
And like at one point there was like, because there's the Habs are in the middle of their playoff run and stuff, and there was like a big game going on, and so he set up in front of the Bell Center, and people were going by going, hey, what's up? And it's like, oh yeah, it's like, okay, it looks like he's kind of doing a promotional bit, and it's like, actually there was a giant pothole right in front of the Bell Center that needed fixing, so he just picked that one on the day where the game was being played. So it just turns out you can just strategically pick them because there's that many, right? And then all this leads to the mayor replying to his Instagram posts directly, going, hey, Soraya is the mayor currently, and she's like, hey, So it's nice to see some Montrealers with initiative, but things need to be done in the right way. So could you stop? How about you stop? And everyone's like, fuck you. You know, eat shit. What are you doing? You're doing nothing. Eat fuck off, right? And then that leads to another round of like, so wait, hold on. Is the official response going to be because we don't know, because you're not doing it properly, / because this is not being done officially, the insurance of if anything goes wrong might fall on you, or if something goes bad. And so to fix that, we have to send workers to dig up your things and return them to pothole status instead of going out to fill out more. You know, is it going to be a remove progress from the situation?
I made the joke at the very beginning, but what I would actually expect to happen is that since these were not done with permits and they were done by a private individual without supervision, they cannot be regulated to be safe for drivers within the city. So they will have to be all redone at cost. And actually, him filling these in has increased the cost to the taxpayer because you need extra people to dig it up and then redo the whole process. And see, that's why you shouldn't do anything.
Just do
That's
nothing.
why you should leave it to the professionals.
Just don't do anything and just leave it alone.
It's a liability.
Yep. It was kind of surreal because there are legit people that are out here doing the leave the corporation alone like fucking knife pose, you know, being like, no, undo these potholes and leave them as holes. The city will take care of it and everything is gonna be okay. And it's just like he's filming bits where like you see a pothole and then you see his head stick out of it and then he crawls out and like dusts himself off, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is a fucking tunnel to Narnia, actually. Anyway, so that I want to say the update eventually looking at the dude's Instagram led to then a DM directly from the mayor being like, hey, we'd love to meet up and just chat about what's going on, because you know, because again, all the goodwill is on his side, and you know, she's coming in as the official being like, well, you know, but everyone knows that like you are doing nothing.
It's really funny because you're like, is this recent? Is this like this month?
Happening right now?
No, but how long has it been going on?
Yeah, this last couple weeks, last 2-3 weeks.
Because like there's like the only thing I would compare that to is there's a BC culture kerfuffle that's ongoing, and it's the complete opposite. So what you're describing is civic engagement / civic good essentially being stopped and or frowned upon by abject outright corruption, right? Out in BC, we have the opposite problem because everyone here is gentle hands, which is extremely well-intentioned dumbass bullshit that causes disaster. So out in BC, because of the temperate climate, there's a long-standing homelessness and drug abuse issue, right? Because it's just easier to not die on the fucking street out here than it is, you know, back in Ontario or Montreal, right? And so, you know, fent and heroin, all these things, they have like a real issue, and you see it a lot when you go through the city. And this leads to a lot of overdose deaths. It leads to a lot of unsafe practices, et cetera, right? So the BC government was like, okay, what are we going to do about this? We should help people. And the idea they came up with was called Safe Supply. Have you heard of Safe Supply?
No, what is that?
Safe Supply is, hey, you're addicted to fent. You're a full-on fenty leaner. What we're going to do is we don't want you dying of a dirty fent overdose. So you come in to the treatment center.
Oh, yeah.
And we will give you clean fent.
Yeah, harm reduction.
From the government.
Harm reduction. Yeah. Right. There's another term I've heard for that, yes.
Right. Now, this is, I would say,
clean injections,
maybe a good idea on paper until it came out that a significant amount of those people are taking their clean drugs and selling them so they can get more dirty drugs.
Oh, methadone specifically.
No. They're taking their no, like cleanly available, non-cut fent,
Right. Okay.
selling it to their drug dealer
Okay.
to get more dirty cut fent
In volume.
And so the process is actually created a third tier of person, which is people that are able to get like double the amount of bad drugs into their system as a result of safe supply.
Okay. That feels like a failure of the system to ensure the usage on site.
Which is the new rules as of January 1st of this year.
Yeah, because
So before that,
yeah,
they were just hand to you.
That's insanity. That's completely insane.
What?
That's completely insane, especially if you're like trying to ensure the safety part of this, right?
They can sell it to people in the line outside the treatment center.
That's batshit. That's a complete failure of the structure of the system. Yeah. No, harm reduction does work, and there's a million Scandinavian studies that show this stuff working, but you have to not be a moron in how you properly set it up. That's crazy.
Good intentions aren't enough. You also have to have a brain in your head.
Wow. Yeah. Well, in terms of like how this shit proceeds, though, it is interesting because like the pressure was then on the mayor to like, well, what are you gonna do, right? Clearly, while you're talking and posting and making these like dodges, and while again you're posting with Tony Soprano right knocking on your door, everyone is trying to figure out like, and how do we deal with the problem of day-to-day life, and are you going to propose then that we fucking stop and roll backwards and just deal with the potholes while you do nothing? And in the end, after these posts and like things like, oh yeah, hey, let's talk or whatever, I think they then disinvited him from the meeting because it went like, no, never mind, they canceled that or something. And went, and she came out and proposed a thing where she went, okay, well, how about we run a big contest, and it'll be an event where we can create these pothole filling machines and repair the ones that are not working, and the design will be something that everyone in the city can...
What are you trying to fucking automate people out of jobs?
And everyone in the city can invest in one of these designs, and we can have two teams, and one team can be run by this guy who's the pothole vigilante, and the other team can be another company, and we can have this big thing, and we can film it, and it can be like a documentary about how we're gonna... And it's just like, you're just hearing the words as I'm saying, like, oh yes, of course, the way we're gonna fix the pothole problem is, instead of fixing the pothole, we're going to create a documentary that we can then sell to Netflix that gets also asks the city to invest more money into designing new machines to solve this problem, and to and hey, maybe even AI can be involved in generating some new machine tech
to actually not... Hey, you know what we need to do, Wooly? You know what we should do? Before we actually build this or fix any of these, we need to do an impact study over a cross-section of the population over the next 5 years to see if fixing the potholes would actually help.
It's like, it's a joke in that you're actually doing the bit where you're 14 or 15 steps in to this big reality TV documentary fucking contest Netflix plan, instead of just pouring the mixture into the hole and then pressing it dry. It's crazy, and then yeah, we've already discussed this in the past, but like, people have grown their flowers out of the potholes to show you how long it's taken. And then a dude who came up with a previous mixture that was like self-drying and doable by like amateur people, basically had his experiments destroyed and his life threatened when he came up with something that was too good at fixing them. So he got the fuck out of Dodge and left, but the idea that that's why I'm like, with this guy, it's like, I believe that like people are brazen enough to threaten when the money is getting fucked with, but right now it's like high profile enough that, yeah, I don't know that they would get away with it without being some repercussions, right? So
here's the thing, it's high profile enough right now,
yes. That's currently the case. Anyway, I think, you know, people kind of looked at it, and
also accidents happen, man. I mean, it's like, you know,
I think
tragic accidents occur.
Yeah. It's fucked, but I believe that, like, in terms of just what you end up with in reality, a situation where there is a fucking corrupt mafia that you can barely do anything about, but they're incentivized to do the fucking work, is objectively a better one than one where they don't.
Yeah, it's much better.
And
like, hey, you know how there's mob fronts that are restaurants?
Yeah.
A good mob front restaurant has good fucking food at reasonable prices.
Hopefully so.
Because you have to portray a successful restaurant that has lots of income. Yeah. And that just works out for everybody.
And so, you know, I was watching, like, because in New York, the whole, like, Zoran thing where he's going around doing potholes, like, constantly and everything. It's like, yeah, there's a level of this where you're cutting past the red tape and bullshit. And this pothole vigilante is, he's doing about 3 a day, I think he's been saying, or so.
Pretty good for a guy who's also working a full-time profession.
Not bad, yeah. And I think he even inspired, like, a second construction team to start going around doing potholes in their area too. So, you know, not all heroes wear capes. And whatever the incentive or whatever the bit, and even if this was for some sort of influencer purposes, who cares? The holes are filled, people are driving over them. Fuck off. I think that, yeah, a pothole Robin has appeared. Exactly, pothole Robin. I think one of the most reasonable things I saw from this too was, like, you know, essentially just the take of going, like, the mayor is obviously in a situation where you can't look the other way completely, because people are going, this should be your job, what the fuck are you doing, right? So you're clearly on blast. And you've also got, as I mentioned, Tony at your door, maybe even hand on your shoulder as you're typing out your tweets. So, like, at that, the best thing you could probably do in that situation is go, hey, we appreciate that citizens are, you know, that take it upon themselves to clean up the city or whatever. That's nice. And just maybe just give a reminder that any damages that occur to other people's vehicles or anything that happens would fall on you, or, you know, if you are if there's anything that that happens as a result of this, you are responsible, right? That's a reasonable thing to say, while ultimately going, I
have an idea. I have an idea. Safe supply for fixing potholes.
Go on.
Fix a pothole. So do a class. Fix a pothole. Get a hit.
Get a hit. Oh, fuck.
And you have to do it on the site. You fix the pothole, they jab you right there.
Right
in the street.
there. You get a hit right on the spot.
Those streets will be fixed tomorrow.
Man, yeah, okay. Unless motherfuckers start, like, jackhammering in the middle of the night to create more potholes to then fix.
Oh no, they would totally do that.
The streets will be fixed overnight.
Okay.
And then by Friday,
got it.
Swiss cheese.
Hit for watching the streets to make sure no new potholes. Right? And but it has to be something uppy. So it has to be like crack or coke.
Yeah, because you can't
you gotta be awake.
Because if you take your hit to be on watch, you're gonna be fading out and doing the fucking lean.
You need okay. So crack for watchers, right? Get a bunch of fiends out there, just like, you know, don't fuck with the streets.
Uppers for the watchers.
And then during the day, it's downers for work.
Downers for the workers. Yeah. Only afterwards. Okay. Yeah. Crack Overwatch.
Yeah.
I see. Clean, though. The cleanest. Clean hits.
Yeah. It's the best stuff you can get in town for doing work for the government. Did I just recreate Brave New World?
I think you solved all of society's problems via proper incentive structure.
Created the second most famous dystopian novel of all time.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, well,
Hey, those roads will be smooth drives.
trains will run on time too.
Yep. The only bumps you'll feel are rolling over the occasional junkie that fucking passes out.
You know, the cost of labor.
When you go boom, 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 boom,
Spillage.
boom.
It's called spillage.
Yeah.
No, it's called churn. That's churn.
Oh my god.